Hey everybody, welcome to Savage Ink Studios. I'm your host Ink, and today is another Sketchbook Storytime. Today's Sketchbook Storytime is about my Disney horror story. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure Disney World is fantastic for most kids, but I was not most kids. So, to give you a little backstory, no, I was not just a bratty little asshole. I mean, yes, but no. So, the backstory on why I was so miserable to go in the first place when most kids would kill for a trip to Disney World is this. So, I lived with my mom from the time I was born up until I was in second grade. At which point, my dad and his wife got primary custody of me, which was not something I was super pumped about at all, and continued to not be pumped about until I turned 18 and moved out. So, I had really just wanted to spend the summer with my mom and my mom's kids and not stuck in a hot, sweaty car with my dad and his family. But that is what happened because I was 10 and I didn't get to make the rules. So we all hopped in the car because we couldn't take a plane like normal people. We had to drive all the way to freaking Florida. And we did, with bratty, preteen, overly dressed me, my crazy toddler brother, my very pregnant stepmom, and my not super excited dad. Already off to a fantastic start, right? Well, if that wasn't enough, there was a joke that my dad and stepmom used to use every single time that they had a family vacation. I miraculously got head lice. And they would joke that my mom had put a curse on me because it didn't matter where we were going, what time of the year it was. Every time we went on a family trip, I got head lice. So naturally, we get there to this tiny hotel that's got me, my dad, my stepmom, my little brother, and my stepmom's mom. And nobody wants to be near me, not just because I'm being a little jerk, but because, of course, I have head lice. So, that was the first couple of days of our trip, dealing with me and the itchy crawlies. And beyond that, as I mentioned, I was horrifically overdressed. So when we did finally get to the park, and we're walking around, my dad and my grandmother started placing bets on who was gonna pass out first. Me in my heavy black sweatshirt and my leather cowboy hat that I just refused to take off, or my stepmom, who was again very, very pregnant. For the record, I didn't pass out, so I don't know if anybody won that bet. So, with the heat and the head lice and the fact that I really just wanted to be home with my mom, I was not in the best of moods. And on top of that, I wasn't a theme park kind of kid. I didn't enjoy The Great Escape or anything like that. I wasn't into roller coasters, and it wasn't like, I'm scared or anything like that. It didn't get my adrenaline going. There was nothing fun or exciting about it. And honestly, by the time that I got off of a roller coaster, my neck just kind of hurt a little bit. So, no joy there for me. The one roller coaster that I went on the entire time that I was at Disney World was Fire and Ice Dragons. I was already kind of familiar with Game of Thrones. My dad, obviously, that was how I got the books. He was really into it, and he got really excited when he saw the ride, and having this massive real life version of something that kind of interested both of us was kind of cool. So I agreed to go on this one ride, and we waited in line for 2 hours to go on a 20-minute roller coaster ride, where at the end I was just disappointed. I mean, it was cool to see the dragons and everything, but I did not need to get on that ride to see those dragons. Not worth it. So, I guess the only redeeming quality of going to Disney World for me was I'm an animal person, and Florida's got some really cool wildlife. So, one of the days we're leaving the hotel, getting ready to go to the park, and on a tree outside of our hotel is this little lizard. I mean, there's lizards everywhere, but this one caught my eye, and I went to go play with it, and it didn't run away from me. So I was just super excited. So I pick it up, and I put it on my shoulder, and I'm giving it water, and we go to the park, and everyone else is going on rides, and I'm just chilling on the ground with my little lizard buddy. And, eventually, partway through the day, I started feeling bad. He's probably hungry and tired and misses his friends and wants to go home. So I tried to set him down in one of the little garden areas inside the park. And he just sat there and looked at me with these big, dopey, adorable lizard eyeballs. Like he didn't want me to leave him. I'm sure that's not what it was, but I was a little kid. And I was just convinced that we were going to be best buddies, and I was going to take him home, and we would just be buddies forever. And, I went to my dad, and I'm like, Dad, did you see? I tried to put him down, and he didn't want me to leave him. I got to bring him home. He needs me. And my dad, who's just like a super chill, really nonchalant kind of guy, was just like, okay, sure, take it home. I don't care. And man, my attitude just turned right around. I was so excited. I had a new pet, and me and this lizard were just going to be buddies forever, and it was going to be great. So, my mood improves, and everyone can tolerate me a little bit more. And the end of the day comes, and I'm getting ready to go back into the hotel thing, and my stepmom's like, no, you leave that thing outside. And I'm like, no, Dad said I could keep it. And she's like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean no? Dad said I could keep it. And my dad's just like, she makes the rules. I don't know what to tell you. And man, I was crushed. I mean, absolutely heartbroken, because I had already given this guy a name, and I was already planning on where I was going to keep him and all the fun things we were going to do together. And I mean, I was just absolutely heartbroken. So if I wasn't in a shitty mood when I arrived, you can bet I was in a shitty mood after my stepmom told me, no, you cannot keep this thing. So, little heartbroken me brings him outside and leaves him behind. I'm crying because how will he ever live without me? It's not like he's a wild animal who knows how to take care of himself or anything, right? Right? No. But the benefit of having my heart absolutely just torn out of my chest was, well, after I went home, of course I had to tell my mom about this awful thing that my stepmom did to me. How I found this lizard and we were meant to be buddies forever, and she just ripped this away from me. So my mom, of course, needing to be better than my dad and my stepmom, is like, oh, honey, it's okay. I'll buy you a lizard. And she did. And she brought me to this super crappy pet store where everything was sick and overpriced. And, I mean, I've got a lot of beefs with this pet store. So that's a can of worms for another day. But I went and I checked out some leopard geckos. And I checked out some bearded dragons. And I ended up picking out this adorable bearded dragon who just kind of like hopped up on my hand. And that was the beginning of the rest of my life. Sorry about the camera going all wonky here. All this equipment's still kind of new for me, and I I couldn't get the clamp to hold on and to not be in my face. So I apologize for that. Moving on. So my mom gets me this lizard, and it's the beginning of the rest of my life. I found my passion from reptiles from this trip, so despite how horridly uncomfortable it was, I guess, shouldn't really complain because it led me to this thing that's now super, super important to me. And then I guess the last bit of, shittiness for that god awful trip was the last couple of days, while I'm moping around the motel because my little lizard buddy's gone forever. My neck had started to swell up pretty bad. I mean, I looked like Frankenstein and it was uncomfortable to swallow. And at this point, I am just so freaking done with this vacation. Like, I just want to go home and I want to go visit my mom. And I don't want to be in the middle of Florida doing this thing anymore. So we finally get back home. And, of course, they bring me to the doctor because my necks are all Frankenstein swollen. And the doctor is looking me over and checking everything, and he's like, how are you still awake? And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What? And the doctor's like, kid, you have mono. You should be, like, knocked flat on your ass. And I'm just like, oh, well, super. I just feel like shit. That's all. I just feel like shit. So, that was the vacation where I got mono, got lice, lost my little lizard friend, but found my passion. So I hope you enjoyed my story time, and I hope you enjoyed my picture. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll just let you guys finish up watching this speed paint. If you guys have any suggestions or comments, anything that you'd like me to try out, please definitely let me know in the comment section below. And I believe I also have my email in my description if you guys want to get a hold of me personally. So, I guess until next time, see ya.